Well, for more, I'm joined now in the studio by our international affairs commentator, Doug Herbert. Good to have you with us, Doug. Good, thank you. So Zelensky is asking for more defence munitions. Why is this so important for Ukraine right now?
Because, you mentioned at the top that both sides are being warned about a dangerous escalation. But let's be clear, without falling into both sidesism, the devastation being wrought on Ukraine by the constant Russian missile and ballistic missile and drone bombardment night after night, largely targeting civilian infrastructure while Russia denies any such thing, is far larger the magnitude and scale and scope than anything that Ukraine is doing when it targets oil refineries, military infrastructure, yes, deeper into Russia, but trying to take that war back from where it essentially came from, back home to Russia, and wake up Russians to the fact that, by the way, your government is waging this war. We just want you to know that it's going on because it's not obvious if you are just watching Russia's state-controlled media. So that's when I say avoid both sidesism. I think it's very important to underline that. And particularly with ballistic missiles, Zelensky has been very clear that the last major advantage that Vladimir Putin has on the battlefield is ballistic missiles. Ukraine's drone sophistication, it's gotten its drone game up to absolute excellence. No one in the world can beat it when it comes to drones. It's even giving help and advice to the Gulf countries in the Iran war right now. But drones alone do not this war make. And Vladimir Putin has been ramping up, stepping up, intensifying these ferocious attacks using these ballistic missiles, including also the nuclear-capable Oreshnik missile recently launched by Russia, because perhaps he knows that the talks are stalemated, that he's, if not losing ground on the battlefield, at least not really gaining ground at anything near the rate he was a month or a year ago. And he's unleashing his fury, and he's trying to scare the bejesus, if you will, out of Ukraine by intensifying these conflicts. So, yes, Zelensky is asking the U.S. because the U.S. is practically the only game in town when it comes to the types of anti-missile defense he needs. PAC-3 interceptor missiles that you put in the Patriot launcher missile systems that the U.S. used to supply. Then the Donald Trump sort of pulled back from its engagement in Ukraine and helping Ukraine, passing the buck to Europe. Europe's not been able to keep the pace in supplying enough weapons of the kind Zelensky needs. So yes, this is a Hail Mary pass, as they say in American football, which is basically writing a plea to Congress, to Trump, saying, your missiles, your interceptor missiles, we need them. We can take down Russia's ballistic missiles. We can protect our country. We have the capacity, and we could have it thanks to you. It's a plea because he desperately needs it at this point of the war. When Vladimir Putin, if anything, is showing zero signs of backing away, he is doubling down on this offensive.
I mean, you touched on it just there, so we know what Ukraine wants. What is Putin's plan right now?
Putin's plan right now is to, like I said, hunkering down and it's not so much a denial of reality as doubling down in his narrative that victory is inevitable. The sooner the West understands that victory is inevitable, the better for the West. Otherwise, it's all going to end very badly. And it wants to also instill that sort of fear into Ukrainians. So this missile and drone bombardment, remember, 90 missiles were shot, ballistic missiles were launched by Russia towards Ukraine last weekend with a lot of death and injury. And Ukraine was only able to intercept some of those. So no matter how good the Ukrainian drones are, no matter how much Ukraine is getting savvier and savvier at being able to try to hit Vladimir Putin's money machine, his oil refineries that generate the cash for his war machine, as much as they're able to do that, as long as these ballistic missiles come in, they can't do anything. Putin knows it. Putin also wants to get the U.S. back engaged in these talks because he knows as long as the U.S. is engaged, the U.S. is obviously withdrawn. Trump's distracted with his war against Iran right now. But as soon as the U.S. re-engages, Russia is relatively confident that they have the man in the White House who will be much more favorable to Russia's agenda, perhaps more manipulative, easier to manipulate to Putin's prerogatives, to what Putin wants, wanting to get the business deals ready again. So it's in Russia's interest that the U.S. engage again because Putin sees it as Trump basically admires him and wants to be more like Putin and wants to do Putin's bidding in a sense from Russia's perspective.
Doug Herbert, thank you very much.